Homeworld 3 offered a demo on the 6th of February for about a week. I arrived late to it, but I still got some time in near the end. It has problems. On top of that, they announced almost as soon as the demo came along that Homeworld 3 was going to be delayed by an additional 2 months. Homeworld 3's release date was pushed back from March the 8th to May the 13th this year. And this game has already been delayed multiple times. It was originally supposed to come out in 2022, so an extra 2 months to give 3 further months in total isn't a lot of time to change much. It's even worse when they just announced another round of layoffs a week later on the 14th of February. Those layoffs are occurring on top of the layoffs that already happened in August last year. In August, I even noticed that they were laying off original Relic guys who worked on Homeworld since the first game in 1999. These are bad signs, especially when the demo has a lot of problems that are deeply entrenched enough that I think they'll mostly all make it into launch and beyond. But they said the delay is to incorporate feedback, so I'd like to give feedback that might help with it, and if it doesn't, I can at least say I tried. I'm not very optimistic though. The game is basically finished and was presumably ready to launch until they delayed it. It was feature complete and in the post-production phase with a month left until release, and now they've extended it to 3 months and laid off people that surely would have been required to finish the bug testing, never mind go back and fix all of the systemic problems, some of which I might have noticed myself. So let's go through these problems, let's get into it. First of all, the first thing I noticed, no left-handed support whatsoever. The default controls are widely acknowledged as being quite messy. A lot of the complaining from players was about the confusing controls, but you can't even rebind keys to cobble together a usable control scheme to get around the mess of their making. This is just insult to injury. Very disappointing for us lefties, but even righties that play on a custom, say, ESDF layout, for example, are screwed here. WASD is fundamentally just not ergonomic, not even for righties. Forcing all right-handed people to use WASD is crap. Forcing left-handed people to use WASD is just repulsive. I've ignored games over this. It's 2024, man. What the fuck? I'm so tired of this. But now, onto the gameplay itself. And we start with a big one here, so buckle up. The special ability button spam is just overbearing and thoroughly atrocious. There is literally a drawbackless special ability for interceptors that's a flat damage boost called Overcharge. This is a 10-second long ability with a 15-second recharge, so there's 10 seconds of uptime followed by 5 seconds of downtime to wait. Ideal play with interceptors is to just spam this without interruption from the moment combat begins. This could even be scripted to be fully automated to activate on the commencement of combat and reactivate as soon as the cooldown expires, which makes it textbook APM burden and completely mindless. This is literally just a press button for more DPS system. There's really no drawback to not having this always active. It doesn't even have to be timed for when combat starts. You could set up a looping 15-second beeper on your phone to just know when to reactivate this shit and have it cycling for an entire match. 15-second cooldown for a 10-second ability, 67% temporal coverage, and there's not really much point fussing over when. Another special ability is that of the assault frigate. This looks like literally a percentage-based damage reduction while active. This is pretty boring too. Put them at the front, wait until there's contact, activate with all the other buttons you have to activate. 67% coverage again, I think. And then with bombers, there's a cloak. Cloak is great. This is an actual ability. This is differentiation. This is situational. No complaints here. Excellent. This is orthogonal. It's actually possible for the player to layer gameplay on top of this stuff. But they've ruined it, of course. It's an ability that's activated and is immediately on, and then it stays on forever, except for when you fire and then it switches off. And do you want to know what's the most annoying thing about this? Its cooldown is literally only 3 seconds. This is something that you literally turn on if you notice it's off, and it turns off as soon as you fire. So you click on your bombers every time they shoot to immediately recloak them, and you do that ad nauseum. This is an absolutely disgusting thing to give a player to grapple with. These bombers are physically capable of being cloaked for basically an entire match, uncloaking only very briefly on those occasions where they shoot, but no player is going to have the micro to manage that coverage. It's just a massive annoying burden. This is one of those things where you're just sitting thinking, why are my bombers so fucking stupid that they need to be told to be literally invisible? Which they clearly can be, because all that's stopping it is me snapping my fingers. Fuck this, seriously, fuck off. This just pisses me off. In order for me to asymptotically approach ideal play with bombers, I have to select them literally every 3 seconds and press a key to make them invisible. You can make a script for this to solve this gameplay completely and play the game with conceivable super bombers. And do you want to hear what the real kick in the balls is? The cloaked fighter of Homeworld 1 handled this masterfully 25 years ago.
Reporting for duty. Intercept course punched in.
Resource injection received.
They have a cloak ability. You activate it. They're cloaked. They uncloak to fire. They automatically recloak after they stop firing. Being cloaked uses fuel. No tedious APM burden here. Once the mode is on, it's on, and a clear drawback exists with fuel cost, a disincentive. You balance the benefits and costs. Why has this become so hard? Another example is Scouts. This is the lightest and most basic unit in any Homeworld game. I really should have started with this. And with these, there's a boost ability just like in Homeworld 1, but unlike Homeworld 1, there's no fuel, so there's probably no reason to not just always spam this now. It's possible to be speed boosted for 67% of the entire battle, 67% coverage again, a 5-second downtime for a 10-second ability, so you literally are just boost spamming with Scouts. I don't think it even really affects their effectiveness in combat to be boosted. If anything, this boost capacity is just more incentive to have Scouts always be in passive stance. Just passive stance your Scouts and boost spam them and they're an ideal fighter screen. It's tedious and micro intensive, needlessly so. If you use the equivalent Scout boost speed in Homeworld 1, the Afterburner, your Scouts would run out of fuel way faster and have to be docked frequently.
This is Group 1, we're low on fuel. This is Group 1, we're in the red, fuel low. This is Group 1, we are out of fuel, repeat, out of fuel.
It's the same trade-off as cloaked fighters. Abilities consume fuel, use them sparingly, your call. That was Homeworld 1 Scouts and their boost. Which game came out in 1999? And which game came out in 2024? Are you sure? At this point, you can imagine that just having some Scouts, some Interceptors and some Bombers in combat is a hell of a micromanagement shit show already. This is just some basic mixed fighters and we're already talking about 200 APM StarCraft bullshit. You've now been totally pulled out of the game and are no longer thinking about tactics and are just juggling keyboard inputs. But let's press on. Another example is the carrier. There's a build faster button that has a 1 minute cooldown, so I have to click a build faster button every minute while building is happening. You could even sync this with the other 1 minute cooldown abilities to have their activations all be harmonised. Your keyboard is turning into a drum kit with a rhythm. What the fuck is this bullshit? This is absolutely ridiculous. What the fuck are they thinking? This is completely and utterly meaningless APM burden. You literally improve the game indisputably by taking this out completely and just speeding up all carrier building by 25 or 50% for the same end result but with all tedium removed. This is a joke. It's really sad that this stuff is in the game because it shows they just don't get it. It's almost as if some design lead said, alright, we want to copy all of these other RTS games where every single unit has a special ability and you have to click a fucking button for it. Go off and make it happen, guys. Every unit, chop chop. And then the demoralised team goes off and just half-heartedly shoehorns in the most first order two-dimensional, ironically, cookie cutter bullshit they can think of to meet the deadline. This is a bad idea every time with a terrible execution, in particular in this case. This is not interesting, it's not vigorous or meaningful player engagement, it's not tactical, it's not thought-provoking, it's anathema to all of that, and it's anathema to Homeworld 1. That was a game where you could press the special ability button to mass fire the entire missile battery of a missile destroyer at the cost of depleting all offensive capability briefly, which was a smart thing to do if there's a swarm of bombers coming in hot, but not so much if you're hunting resource collectors and don't know what might emerge from the fog of war.
Rebel tubes were dumping. Repeat, under fire.
The mothership is under fire.
Fields, we've got a mapping. Hold and engage, we've got contact.
The mothership is under attack.
Empty the canisters. Alert, alert, ambush. It's over. Let's clean it up.
Resource injection received. Support ready complete.
Repeat, where are those orders?
That was a game where the special ability of resource collectors, which most players won't even know about, by the way, was to refuel fighters one at a time. And by the way, resource collectors had a bit of a secret weapon, which was to suck the armour off of enemy ships if you force fired on them. Oh yeah, force fire is gone. So was Kamikaze, and presumably all collision physics with it. Homeworld 1 was a game where the special ability of a heavy corvette was a burst fire that would area of effect damage fighter formations.
Wall formation confirmed. First target acquired. Charging. Target acquired. Charging for burst.
Resource injection received.
Group 1 under fire. Target acquired. Charging for burst. Target acquired. Charging for burst. First target acquired. Charging. Destination locked in.
That was a game where you could even capture enemy ships like missile corvettes, something usually assumed to be impossible, and they would have their own secret special abilities that you had to discover and figure out uses for on your own. Alright, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh yeah, number 12. Fuck yeah, look at that momentum it has as it spins around, trying to gain control of it. Those physics. Makes sense. It's like two bodies that collide and they sort of mangle together and spin. It seems realistic, I love it. And I'm gonna fire. And they can do it, they can fire. Look at that range. Look at that, it's just coming out of nowhere. Look at that shit. Look at that.
We have determined that these enemy units are inferior to ours.
There wasn't any instructions, it just was there and you had to figure out. What is it with these cooldown buttons with flat bonuses to things like speed and attack and damage? Where is the actual differentiation of utility? Where are the orthogonal abilities as opposed to vertical incrementations of basic stats? Naked multipliers are no substitute for engaging novel systems. I keep saying it and these games keep fucking doing this. Homeworld 3 is currently scheduled to provide a textbook example of one of my long-standing critiques of the worst pitfalls of modern game design, and it breaks my heart. Homeworld 3 is currently evincing the validity of my long-standing critiquing by giving yet another tragic degradation story and proving that these crutches really are corrosive to games and their gameplay. These abilities are not inherent to the unit and something that you sometimes want on and sometimes don't, like a mode, a switch. It's not something that's left up to the player to make tactical evaluations regarding in the heat of combat, where you weigh up the benefits and the drawbacks of engaging the mode with consideration of all of the many variables currently going on. The example of Scout Afterburners is the most obvious with how it massively increases fuel consumption in Homeworld 1. In Homeworld 1, Scouts could boost to outrun missiles. It came at a fuel cost, and it was situational and opportunistic. It's sad too, because even Deserts of Karak wasn't this bad. Some of the special abilities in that game were kinda shit, but there were others that really were situational and had clear drawbacks and had tiny time windows, and they all had long cooldowns. There was even a smoke grenade ability, for example, not very original, but it definitely reshaped the battlefield, not so much here. We have units that are really tanky, and that have really useful abilities like that smoke, And look at what I'm doing there. I'm making a line of smoke so I can send the cruiser through it and actually steal it this time. It's looking really good. Sneaked out. That smoke ability is so powerful. But that took a lot of my attention and resources, and now they've built up some mass at the front and they're just accumulating. And I've got a support frigate there that arrives and starts healing it up, so I've secured it. Got the first cruiser. Special abilities are relegated to recharging buttons that you pretty much click as soon as the cooldown ends and then just wait to do it again and again and again. It's pretty brainless. And the whole research system is relegated to unlocking these recharging buttons. They've murdered both research and special abilities, 2 birds with 1 stone. That's a big one. And it should be a big one because it currently is a big percentage of what a competent player is going to be expected to be doing in the course of normal or even optimal play with this game as it works. This is what there is now instead of combat maneuvers and tactics, button bashings. That's my whole rant on the button spam to make numbers go up. On to the next one. Alright, dragging selection boxes around units is fucked. Right, they're going around the rocks.
Replace and reinforce the fleet as resources become available. Units can be quickly repaired by sending them to dock with
what is going on with these boxes?
Dock with the carrier now.
I'm trying to drag.
Recon, move complete.
Look at where the box is and look at where it's selecting. What is that? That is just bizarre. No. Look at what I have to do to select 2 of them. Look, I've got to drag up here. That is weird. It's not good. There's no clean selection process like we had a quarter of a century ago. Units that are literally outside of the box on your screen get included in the selection, even if you specifically disable the weird option in the settings that affects the selection of moving units over time. This option being here shows that they've thought carefully about this system and none of this is an accident. It's deliberately this terrible. Selecting units is deliberately really painful. You can't rely on this system, you can't trust it to do what you want, which is the whole point of having it operate like this and be customizable, to make it trustable. Oh man, what the hell. That was selection boxes, but dragging boxes around targets is likewise ambiguous. It's unclear which units are being targeted. Homeworld 1 would have targets flash white to give clear and tactile visual feedback. There would also be sound confirmation that was immediate. Your orders would be acknowledged on radio chatter, you know, like in Command & Conquer. In Homeworld 3, you never know if your orders are dropped and aren't registering. This is horrible, really unsatisfying. Take the example of support frigates. This is a lifesaver unit, literally. If you don't know if your repair order is going through, you don't know if your ships will die needlessly in a minute. This has to be clearer for confident and effective bold play. I've since read that there is no group heal command for support frigates anymore. You have to manually click each heal, and some of my own experience matches this, but then other times it would work. What the fuck? I have no idea what's going on with this. What is actually going on? Why does this sometimes work and sometimes not work? I do not know. No one does. The capital ship combat is a complete mess. There is no capital ship combat manoeuvring in Homeworld 3. It's hard for me to overstate how bad this is.
Vessels are in place. Be on alert. Enemies will try to intercept.
Go for Ion. I'm on my way. Copied. Send message. Defending. Receiving. Grid copy. Grid copy. Cycling target. We're hit. Taking fire. Defending. Received. Can't shake it. Confirm on target. Helm adjust.
This is what the whole of the capital ship combat of Homeworld 1 was. All of the micro of capital ships in combat, which is peak Homeworld gameplay. the peak of Homeworld gameplay, capital ship combat, destroyers and battle cruisers and iron frigates etc. slugging out at kilometre distances, ion cannon beams connecting friend with foe through space, heavy recoil absorbers jumping back with long muzzle flashes as they propel slugs downrange, slow moving missiles slowly coiling their way towards the enemy, torpedoes too. This is what every Homeworld campaign or skirmish or multiplayer match is building up to, and it's not here. And do you know why it isn't here? There is no longer an attack move. In Homeworld 1 and 2, movement orders given to capital ships would have them move while keeping their front facing any target they're currently engaging. This meant that manoeuvres during combat were not only viable but strongly encouraged to stack advantages. For example, if you have several iron cannon frigates fighting a larger and slower destroyer, it was absolutely prudent to have the iron cannon frigates split up, to have at least one of them make an attempt to get a shot into a weaker side, or ideally even rear armour. Another situation, units with longer range like ion cannons frigates attack move to kite assault frigates and do damage to them without taking any return fire. An ion cannon frigate can maintain its standoff range while still firing its ion cannon by moving backwards as the enemy approaches. Now, an ion cannon frigate has to just sit still uselessly while the enemy draws in closer and starts trading damage. This is atrocious. If you tell your ion cannon frigates to move backwards to keep distance, it stops firing and does a tedious 180 turn and gets shot in the arse. Absolutely pathetic. What is this? This means that the whole of capital ship combat in Homeworld 3 is scheduled to be nothing but the following. Get in range, stop moving, start firing. The one with the biggest weapons plus best armour wins. Oh, and the one that presses all of the ability buttons probably wins even harder. This is absolutely atrocious. This kills the game more than anything else, honestly. The more I think about this, the worse it seems. Ships have to be able to combat manoeuvre. This has to be totally functional on launch or I'll absolutely lose my shit. I swear to fuck. On the same subject, it's also currently unclear to me if flanking, rear and bomb shots do more damage than frontal attacks, and if there's no capital ship combat manoeuvre, would it be any surprise to find out it doesn't? And wouldn't that be an absolute travesty in a game where you're supposedly meant to sneak around giant hulls and chunks of fuselage and all this in space? Like giant hull sections that block line of sight that you can use to sneak up on the enemy to shoot them in the rear. Is it the case that you can do that and it won't do extra damage? Like, this is the thing, I don't know. To compare, in Homeworld 1, side shots did something like 50% more damage, and outright rear shots did something like double damage. You'd even see the plasma discharge boiling off of engines when ion cannon frigates directly fired into the engine. This visually told you that you were doing more damage. If you got behind a super powerful ship, you were doing well and you could actually beat it with a weaker one. This meant that the game was about more than just big guns and big ships. It was about relative positioning. It was about hyper-spacing in behind the enemy or otherwise ambushing them out of dust clouds or whatever else. It was about cloaking and moving in for the ambush. It was about tactics. Tactics. Real-time tactics. I did a bit of googling and all I could find on this was someone declaring that there is in fact no directional armour. So can anyone confirm this? This would be really bad. Really bad. I've been citing and praising Homeworld for over a decade for its directional armour and flanking advantage combat. The first ever 3D RTS and one of the finest games ever crafted was Homeworld. And that was set in space and encouraged players to attack from above with combat bonuses and malices. It's still intuitive even when there's no gravity. And here we are with Homeworld 3 in 2024, and you cannot do the following anymore.
Standing by.
Alright, I'm gonna just do it.
Hyperspace coordinates locked in. Standing by.
We're doing it. We're gonna do it.
Copy.
And here we go.
Attack coordinates locked in.
The battle cruisers should be right behind.
Exit coordinates confirmed.
Oh, holy shit. Oh, just... Oh, this could work.
Frigate
This could
under
work.
attack. Group 7 reporting. Pursuing targets. Subsystem attack confirmed.
Although the missile batteries are fucking me up.
Group 4 reports enemy contact.
What's our damage?
Yeah, we're doing it.
Lost.
Capital ship locked.
Holy
in.
shit, we did it.
Stabilizers
We're right in
offline.
behind
Group
him.
7.
And now he's gonna turn because he's noticed.
Acknowledged.
Holy shit, what a move. Oh, get fucked. Get fucked.
All personnel, code red.
Come on, ion
Frigate
beams.
Lost.
We're doing it.
Cabin pressure dropping. Cabin
Taking a
pressure
lot of
dropping.
damage.
Frigate lost.
Frigate
We've
under
cut
attack.
through his frigate formation.
Group
And he's
4
turning now,
under
now he's
attack.
turning, so I'm gonna
Moving
move.
while engaging.
I'm gonna pirouette underneath him.
Combat maneuver confirmed.
Oh my god, this is nice. I like this.
Group 7 standing by. Copy.
We need to watch out for this one here, because it
Moving
can
while
maybe
engaging.
move fast enough.
Combat maneuver confirmed.
Oh, that one is screwed, it's totally out of the fight.
Confirmed.
Come on, get in behind him.
Moving while engaging.
That one is fucked.
Flak frigate taking heavy damage.
Oh, we're firing on him, fuck yeah.
Combat maneuver confirmed.
Oh, they're getting destroyed. Look at this move.
Target entered a dust cloud. They're off our sensors.
Boys wanted to do this. Oh
Frigate
yeah.
lost.
Battle cruiser.
Oh no! I just took a direct hit from the Trinity cannon. Fuck.
Combat maneuver confirmed.
I need to dodge all the missiles now, shit.
Copy. Frigate under attack.
Alright,
Group
come
4
on.
reports enemy contact.
Subsystem
Oh no,
attack
move,
confirmed.
move,
Subsystem
move.
Target acquired.
Oh, he's facing right at me.
Moving while
And
engaging.
I've lost him.
Moving while engaging. Strike group receiving fire.
Shit.
Cruiser destroyed.
What's our damage? We're drawing
Oh, I
heavy
got
fire.
one.
Acknowledged. Subsystem
All of
target
that,
acquired.
and I
Capital
still
ship
lost
locked
one.
in.
It's not fair. It sucks.
Hull breach. Hull breach.
Oh my
En
god.
route.
Group 7 reports enemy contact.
Alright, we need to replace that brave soul. Ooh.
Frigate lost.
Trinity cannon took out one of the frigates, fuck.
Construction underway.
Well, that was nice anyway. We need bombers so we can take out engines of incoming. Because we know that you can't attack move, and maybe also you don't get extra damage for shooting in the bottom, or the sides, or the back, or the top, and getting around that thicker, better placed and angled front armour. I'm leaving the door open for my hunch from playing and indications from what other people have said to be wrong. These are just hunches. I haven't had it confirmed. I merely suspect. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe the rear of ships do take more damage than the front. Maybe ambushing a ship from below and shooting it in the belly from below really does do something. Maybe it did all along during this demo and I just didn't get to confirm it yet. But I have to say, if for some reason it doesn't, and if Homeworld 3 launches and it doesn't have damage bonuses to the side and rear and below and above shots that avoid front armour, then that would be so embarrassing that it would pretty much just be a slap in the face to Homeworld 1. It really would. Homeworld 1 was the first ever 3D real-time strategy or real-time tactics game as far as I'm aware, and the whole point of that is to actually be able to flank in 3D space and pull off ambushes and devastating flanks with jumping out of hyperspace, etc. If the game doesn't even reward that by simulating the effect of hitting thinner armour that isn't designed to be presented to the enemy in combat, then that is really, really bad. I'm leaving the door open, but I'm just saying, and I'm giving a warning to Blackbird, alright? Just don't. So that was about this combat while ships are alive and kicking. What about after that? Capital and super capital ships like battle cruisers are utterly underwhelming when they die. It is good that the ships leave behind debris as in Homeworld 2, and you can see the hull rupture and separate, etc. But the flash and sound are both really muted and muffled and feeble. They're underwhelming.
Alright, hang in there. Standing by. We're going down. We're going. Repairs initiated. We're under fire.
Production underway. Production underway.
Assembly underway. Berths are clear. Construction underway. Berths are clear.
I also noticed that fighters caught in the area of a detonation take damage from the blast. This is good. Just make the blast actually a spectacle. make the battlecruisers yaw and creak as their hulls buckle and ruptures. Why is this worse than in Homeworld 2 20 years ago, you know? Why? Do you know what would be amazing? If on a battlecruiser that's going critical, some of the ion cannons just manually override all overheating safeties and force out a continuous ion beam right up until they're vaporised by their own ship disintegrating. A dead man's hand, a defiant last stand. Isn't that what this is supposed to be on ion cannon frigates, the burn mode? A beam that does more damage for some reason? Why not have this be more impactful instead of being a shitty button the player has to press? Have it be automated. The captain insists on it himself when he sees his ship is going down. You could have even added some battle chatter to go along with it. What an opportunity. Maybe you even see the beam start to become unstable and have power fluctuations and surges right in its dying seconds. Wouldn't this be amazing and immersive? This is something Higarans would definitely do. Why is there such a reluctance to capitalise on these kinds of immersive opportunities when Homeworld 1 went as far as to have battle chatter for a losing engagement and acknowledgement of friendly fire orders, and be just such a thoroughly emotional and immersive game in general? In Homeworld 1, if you force fired on the Bentis Harbour ship, there were even unique voice lines recorded for that. Am I the only one that feels like this, as someone that played Homeworld 1 25 years ago? Isn't what I'm describing more along the lines of being true to Homeworld than a button for a cooldown ability? And while we're here talking about ion cannons, I kind of just viscerally despise seeing ion cannons propagate at far less than the speed of light, so slowly that I can see the beam move into the target. Just look at this. These are not ion cannons, these are like harpoon guns or something. This is what Spider-Man uses to swing. It's not an ion cannon. Ions go at nearly the speed of light, something like 95% of C, don't they? They have to in order to have relativistic effects and actually deliver energy to the target, right? Come on man, I didn't even do past high school physics and I can intuit and describe why this is off. Just feels off. Although I do like how when, for example, a destroyer's nearly dead, the ion beams start to go straight through and come out the other side. That is a nice detail, and nice details are what we are all about around here. We do notice these nice details. Add more nice details. Get the basics right, and then add in nice details like these. Some people there do care. They do care, some of them. As expected. Just put them in charge, you know. Another thing, ships no longer have modules like Homeworld 2 either. As a lot of people have noticed and commented, that was where a lot of the tactical depth in Homeworld 2 came from, and it hasn't come back. This game feels super emaciated without this. This was obviously something you had to bring back. Games like Nebula's Fleet Command have come along and absolutely nailed this aspect and just packed their ships with modules. Ships in that game are basically just a totality of modules. Homeworld, you just can't go back from this. You can't take this out. Ships have engines, we know this now. They have weapon systems like ion cannons and missile batteries, we know this now, we see it. They have hard points that are soft, you can see them. You can obviously also therefore target them and shoot them. Come on man, we used to be able to shoot them. We used to be able to shoot out a Vagar battlecruiser's engine with bombers and in hyperspace a Higaran battlecruiser and behind it and kill it while it's paralysed. We should be able to do stuff like that again. We should have the choice to do that. It developed the rock, paper, scissors of bombers eat capital ships, which eat interceptors, which eat bombers. Come on, see when you hyperspace in behind a battlecruiser and take it out, and you win with almost no damage or losses. That feels cool. You feel like a fucking badass when you do that. You feel smart. And if it's against a player, you feel like you outplayed them. Let us do that. Are you really going to deny players that feeling? What the fuck? What are you doing, man? Come on. I can't believe it, you know? Another thing. Ships sit in a military parade formation after undocking from their carrier and get shot to pieces without attempting to evade fire. They're not responsive. You have to manually tell them to snap out of it. Stop sitting there getting murdered. You're undocked. Back into the action. Rise and shine. Snap out of it. Something else I could complain about, and that might be a little bit different. For all the focus we had on wargames and being told it was a roguelike, it's shocking how little I cared about each of my ships. Everything dies so fast, even frigates die extremely fast. When I destroyed an enemy destroyer, it usually felt like it was an accident. I'm destroying destroyers and it feels like a fluke. Sometimes by the time I notice I'm even fighting one, half of its health bar is already gone. This is weird beyond belief. And it goes both ways, of course. My frigates die and I literally couldn't even tell you why. Some little corvette killed it out of nowhere, just flying around somewhere. Their health just gets whittled down and then they're in the red and then they're gone. If I see a frigate in the low yellow health or red health, I know it's a write-off, especially with support frigates as unresponsive and just as squishy as they are. This all makes ships feel super disposable, and it isn't even in the good way where combat feels decisive and punishing and gritty, because for all the reasons I've given, combat is a clusterfuck. As I've said, I can't even do tactical retreats from bad engagements with frigates because they turn around 180 degrees and show their arse. So all of this makes a Homeworld game where your ships are super disposable and you can't get attached to them. They have no persistence. And now I finally get to the problem. My problem? They aren't redoing what Deserts of Karak introduced with unit experience and veterancy. You can't play the game well and micromanage your units and keep them alive and be rewarded for it. I assume the campaign will work like this as well. One of the coolest things about Deserts of Karak is that you carried your elite veteran units, survivors of countless battles, all the way through the campaign from start to end. Their veterancy came with them, they were persistent, like Homeworld was from the start. They just added some depth to it. Why have games like Homeworld 2 and Deserts of Karak added depth to classic features and then we just get rid of all of it and we're back to where we were with Homeworld 1 or even worse? It just doesn't make sense. What the fuck? And last but not least, this fixed-wing bomber design is not a Homeworld mothership. Homeworld is the mothership. I have older relatives that never played Homeworld before, but that would be able to spot Homeworld immediately just from their memory of the mothership on the box art 25 years later. Oh, and the soundtrack, of course. It's iconic. The Homeworld mothership is iconic. I hope this is just a set piece and that you can find Karen and the mothership later on in the campaign, and I have a feeling that's probably going to happen. Or I hope that the mothership in the Wargames mode is its own separate side mothership design, just like a mini mothership. But I have to emphasise, the mothership is Homeworld. The spectacle of seeing the cover come off of the side and a destroyer being born to join the fray and turn the tide, that was a Homeworld moment.
Destroyer complete.
Receiving. Reporting for duty.
I could play Homeworld 1 again today, and that first destroyer you get in that Kadesh mission will always be a moment where I'll stop what I'm doing and just watch it emerge and be birthed into the fucking chaos of battle. That's all gone when you have a frisbee for a mothership. And I have to ask, because it's been annoying me ever since I thought about it, can anyone confirm that it was possible in this demo to put fighters into a sphere formation and give them a guard order on a frigate and just have them actually surround and escort the frigate like a orbital of electrons around a nucleus like we used to do in Homeworld 1? I would have tried it myself, but I was usually just too busy dealing with the fucked up controls to truly experiment with combat tactics, so I forgot to try some of these pretty basic things. If there was a single tap key for sphere formation like there was for all of the other Homeworld games, I probably would have used formations way more. Let me know if any of you tried and what happened. One of the coolest things about Homeworld 1 was assigning some defenders high armour and long range pea-shooting defensive fighter units to defend things like resource controllers or ion cannon frigates. I wonder if those kinds of experimental combinations of units using these game systems are actually still possible. I'm not sure, but I'm now worried that if I made a sphere of interceptors and told them to guard mode something in Homeworld 3, that they would just sit beside it off to the side in a little blob on their own. Just having a feeling that might happen. It might happen, and it would be bad. Please, someone, just tell me what happens if you know. Did you try it? What happened? Please tell me. It's been annoying me for days. I have a feeling that there's probably loads to say about the UI and how big and intrusive it is too. Also, I think the UI and the button spam etc. take away from the immersiveness in some ways, and Homeworld is supposed to be a really immersive experience. You could probably tie all of this together and distill out some truths about this game and its more holistic overall problems, but I'll leave that for another time. I tried to focus on concrete game systems and their consequences on the gameplay and how it plays. Let me know if I miss anything. I'm curious what everyone else thinks, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this and I want to get to the bottom of it. And most of all, I want a good Homeworld game. I want every Homeworld game to be amazing. I played Homeworld 1 when I was literally 7 years old and it made me a fan for life. I fear that this is another childhood game franchise that has gone, or is in the process of going, to shit. Perhaps the last one, with every other one fucked. All of the others are dead. Total War is the biggest one, and I've spent a lot of time documenting that. Command & Conquer died a decade ago, and that was sad too. I don't want Homeworld to die miserably like all of these other games. If there's anything I can do to prevent it, I will. Rage against the dying of the light, I shall. Thanks for watching, everyone. Let me know what you thought.
We're getting sworn. Controller copies.
Sensors detect hyperspace inhibitors in a triangular formation. Even one can keep us from entering hyperspace. All of them must be destroyed.
All in good time.
The nebula is still scrambling our sensors, but it looks like we have incoming enemy units.
Oh, here we go. It's gonna happen again.
Again, we offer you the chance to join us and live here in peace.
We cannot stay. We're on a journey. But let there be peace between us, for we have something in common. The hyperdrive technology left to us by our ancestors is identical to yours. The homeworld we seek may be yours as well.
You will fail. The evil that drove us here will find and destroy you. From you they will know of us and come here. This cannot come to pass.
Oh no.
We have enemy units closing from all directions. Engage and destroy hostiles.
Oh, holy shit, here we go again. Alright. Let's launch.
Launch.
All of the salvagers were surrounded. Thanks as always to my patrons for their support of the channel and appreciation of what I do. I give updates every month to my patrons to keep them in the loop on what I've got planned and what I'm thinking. Special thanks to Matteo Olivetti, SJ Mage and Badr Nasser.